Are magical girl anime getting too oversaturated? Hey everyone, welcome to Princess Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my blind reaction to Pretty Pretty Please I Don't Want to Be a Magical Girl by Kiana Con Smith. This is a new animatic pilot that is apparently sweeping the internet. I've heard that it's big, and I've seen a couple other reactors have reacted to it. Am I missing something? Because that's the thing. I've heard that it's big. I haven't seen it being big. I feel like I might have seen like a couple posts about it. But I haven't like seen anything major. But you know, our cell phones are spying on us, so now I'm gonna see it everywhere because the algorithms are gonna hear me talking about it or shit. um, yeah, I don't know anything about it because, like I said, I haven't really seen much people actually talking about it. But apparently, everyone is talking about it. Um, all I know is the title. I know that it is, an animation pilot, and it is in mostly animatic style. I do know that there is a portion of it that is fully animated. I don't know how long the portion is, considering this is like an 11-minute or so episode. It's like the typical half length for one of those shows, like I don't know, Star Versus or Steven Universe, to have the half length episodes. Um, so it's kind of like that. The pilot or the title rather, I don't. I mean, it gives you a fair enough hint as to one aspect of it, but that's about it. The character, I assume main character, doesn't want to be a magical girl and is pleading about not wanting to be a magical girl. It's kind of the idea, which has been done before, of someone kind of acknowledging they're the main character and not wanting to be the main character. It's not an entirely new concept, though to be fair, it's almost impossible to find an entirely new concept these days. But it can still be done very well. I have an interesting history with magical girl stuff because growing up, one of the first anime I ever saw and got into was Sailor Moon. I watched the Dick dub with my sister, and I really enjoyed it. And as many issues as that original dub did have, especially becoming an adult and learning about all the censorship, especially with queer representation, because Sailor Moon is surprisingly super queer. um, but all the censorship and everything, it's like I didn't really know that as a kid, to be fair. But also as a kid, I didn't really have as many ways to know that. I just enjoyed the series for what it is. And even looking back on it now, I still have a good nostalgia for the voice performances, as goofy as they are. They're fun. They're entertaining to me. I enjoy them. I like the goofiness. I like the silliness. I enjoy the performances. But the censorship does cause an issue looking back on it. And there are some things that just don't work as well because of that. And mind you, there are some things that are better, I think, in the original dub. The song that plays during the final confrontation between Usagi and Queen Beryl is one of the best pieces of music in anime, period. It is that good, in my opinion. And obviously music is subjective, but that is how much I love that piece of music. And that scene in general is so exceptionally well done. It makes me cry. Like, even now, as many times as I've seen it, it still makes me cry. It's still, like, just a huge moment for me. But here's the thing. With all of that being said, I have not been able to get into much of any other Magical Girl series. Like, outside of Sailor Moon, I think the only other one that I ever really enjoyed was Card Captor Sakura, which here in the US at that time was just known as Card Captors. Other than that, like throughout time, I've tried to get into all these other different magical girl shows, and they just don't do it for me for one reason or another. Whether the series just isn't that interesting, or in some cases, the series is so excessively hyped that it just never can live up to it for me. And it just isn't, in my opinion, what all the hype says that it is. Looking at you, Madoka Magica, not that interesting of a show and not that dark of a show. It's really not. Of course, maybe I'm just even back when I watched it. Like nowadays, yeah, I'm just a lot more desensitized to dark shit. But even back when I watched it, it's like I saw the big moment that's supposed to be the turning point in the show, and I'm like, that's it. Yay, whoopee. I dropped it at that point because it's like this is boring. I'm not interested. I don't care about these characters. I don't care about what's going on. That's really not that dark. It's just like, eh. It's like it's like okay, so this one character gets killed. Yay. In the Dark Kingdom arc of the original Sailor Moon, when I watched it, almost all of the characters died. Like what? I mean, they got brought back, but still. Like, it's insane. Like, even as a kid, I understood what was happening there. With the Sailor Scouts dying to Queen Barrel's minions and tricks and everything. It's just like, it's really not that dark. And I've heard about some of the places Madoka Magica goes and everything, and it seems to go in just a very stereotypical, generalized um, magical girl route. Because most of these magical girl shows pretty much go in the same direction. Character becomes magical girl, struggles to get used to her powers, ends up becoming really strong, forms bonds with other magical girls, and then eventually becomes a fucking god. It always happens. And there's also usually some kind of like animal or alien sidekick or something like that. And sometimes that sidekick can be trusted, sometimes not. It's like, yay. It's all the same stuff. It's all the same stuff, and that's why most of it just hasn't appealed to me. It feels like it never really takes enough creative direction with any of these magical girl shows. Sailor Moon was one of the first, if not the first. I don't think it was the first, but the first one to really popularize the genre. And even then, it's one of the more unique ones. Like, it still feels very different compared to more modern day ones, which is wild to me, considering all these modern day magical girl anime are obviously taking from it, are inspired by Sailor Moon. But it still seems like the most original one to me. And I just haven't really found any others that I'm really that invested in, that I could really enjoy, and that I watched to completion because of that. I end up dropping like all that I start. Like the actual darkest one I've seen, I think is called Magical Girl Sight, which was basically like extremely like dark to the point where it's like, oh, we're just gonna have horrifically violent death and discussions of suicide and shit all the time. And a lot of people called it edgy, which I think it's like was a slight misuse of the term. Because it was dark, but I wouldn't call it quite edgy. Exactly. I don't know. There's kind of a fine line between dark and edgy for me. And it's like, I just didn't feel like it was that over the top with it. It was just, that was the darkest Magical Girl anime I've seen. And I kind of even lost interest with that one. But yeah. Um, and I've seen other things inspired heavily by Magical Girl content, like Star vs. the Force of Evil. But it's like, even that didn't stick the landing for me, but that had different problems, to be fair. Um, so I'm saying all of this because I'm going into this pilot animatic hoping that this is going to be different. Hoping that it's going to be unique and different enough because of its apparent premise of really not wanting to be a magical girl. I'm hoping that it allows it to stand out in a notable way. Otherwise, I don't really know anything else about this. Oh, I know the characters are black. I do know that. I've seen what the characters look like. At least, I guess, the two main characters. I've seen what they look like. Um, and I know this is like a black created pilot and everything. So, that I do know as well. I do wonder, though, why it's in animatic form. Usually, when these animation pilots are released, they're released as full animation. So I wonder if they just wanted to push it out quicker, and that's why they like just had only that one part, I guess, that's fully animated. Or maybe this was always like the plan, and that when the full series does eventually come, it's this pilot isn't going to necessarily be the first episode like a lot of these shows do, like Amazing Digital Circus or whatnot, but is more going to be like, I guess, more equivalent to Hell of a Boss, to where it's like the pilot sets everything up, gets you acquainted with things, but is not actually episode one, and certain things might change between the pilot and the um, full series. I don't know. I guess we'll see. If and when a full series does come, I don't know like what the plans are for that or anything because I don't know anything outside of these few little things I've mentioned. But I'm interested to see what all the hype I have not been seeing, but apparently exists, is all about. Um, so, that being said, let's just get into this. Hold up just a sec. Before you click that link down in the description below to get to today's video, I want to remind you of all the awesome content we have both on this channel and the Princess of Gaming channel. Let's check it out. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So yeah, there's actually some professional VAs in here. Anaris Quinones, who is known for a lot of things at this point. Mirko, or yeah, I think she's Mirko in My Hero. Um, but she's like Echidna in ReZero and a lot of other things. She's Harriet Bree in Ruby. She's done a lot of big stuff. She's in Dandadan. She's one of Momo's friends, Muko. So that there's an example as well. And then you have Alex Lee, who's been in a lot of stuff as well. So yeah, we have some notable names in here. I just didn't even consider that that could have been a possibility for this. This seemed like more of like a very niche, small time internet thing. But maybe it's a little higher up than that, or maybe they just were able to hire in these VAs. I don't know. Um, the animation did look like, even outside of just that one short scene that was like fully animated, Which, why that scene of all things? Um, the animation in the animatic was a lot cleaner than most animatics I do tend to see. So it feels like it was a lot further along in the production process, and I kind of wonder why not just wait until you have it fully animated then. Like, don't get me wrong, it's not like a deal breaker or anything for this. It doesn't ruin the pilot at all. I'm just wondering. It's like I feel like if you waited until you could get this like fully finished animated, I feel like it would have been even better. And again, it's not ruined by the fact that it's mostly animatic. Not at all. But still, I just feel like it could have been even better if they waited until they were able to fully animate it. And it might have been like a monetization thing, but this, like, if they asked for help getting this monetized, people would like help out like crazy. Something like this, absolutely. But let's actually talk about what we did receive here. So, our main character, whose name I'm going to have to look up right now because I can't remember it. I think the friend's name was Zira, but I can't remember our main character's name. So give me a second here. Aika. Aika is a character who just wants to be normal. She just wants to be a normal girl going through normal girl stuff. Like, she even talks about like getting like a normal ass job at 15, apparently, I guess is her age. Um which also, if she's just starting in high school, 15 is late to start high school, right? Because I usually you start high school about 14, and I guess maybe if you started like kindergarten a year later, that could happen. I mean, it's possible, I guess. It's just not what I usually think of for starting high school. Anyway, so yeah, we have Aika, who wants to be a normal girl, and we've seen this kind of trope in other things where you have a character, main character even, who just wants to be like very normal, doesn't want a lot of attention on them and stuff, but is kind of like drawn to being something special anyway for one reason or another. Um, but she like really wants to be normal. And we find out that this is because this star character, the star alien thing, Hoshi, wants her to be, this magical star guardian. And has been hounding her. And she's locked it up in a box and everything and tried to, like, get rid of it and avoid it. Apparently, she's done this transformation before because she knew exactly what she was doing. And, like, she's been like rejecting this completely outright. And at the same time, a big part of this seems to be like kind of rejecting a lot of the stereotypes of magical girl shows. And that's actually, I think, one of my favorite parts of this because a lot of these magical girl anime that come out will, like, a lot of fans will say, oh, this subverts the genre. It's like, no, it doesn't. Madoka Magica does not subvert the genre at all. But then you watch, like, this, and it's like, oh, no, this is actually subverting the genre. It's like you don't get a transformation sequence, you get a de-transformation sequence. You see her have this big sequence for untransforming, turning back to normal. Instead of using magical powers or anything with her wand or whatnot, she summons a crowbar and just beats the dude's shins in, breaks his legs. It's like, one, Jesus, she just fucking broke his legs. Like, that's like aggressively violent. But also, it's like that's a good subversion of the trope. She's not using any kind of powers or whatnot. She's just using a fucking crowbar to beat a dude's legs. It's like that's funny. That's a really good subversion. Also, I still say at the part where Hoshi phased through pretty like violently, it seemed, phased through Sydney the Kidney Girls, still love that name, um body and everything. That was a lot freakier than anything I've seen in Madoka Magic or pretty much any of these modern magical girl shows that supposedly subvert the genre. It's like the way it was animated, how Hoshi moved through her body slowly, the sounds that were coming from it, it just seemed very like aggressively uncomfortable. Um like they do a joke like that in Gentry Chow as well. Um where Gentry walks through Gugu at one point. It's one of the early episodes when Gugu's a ghost and everything. Gentry walks through Gugu, who like has a notable reaction to being walked through like that. It's kind of the opposite situation in this case, but still. And then to like just have this feeling, for Sydney, going back to Sydney, for her to have this feeling that her kidneys are backwards. It's like, how do you even feel that? What does that feel like? Like that's genuinely freaky to think about. How would you even begin to think that? What would you have to feel to think that? That's freaky. Um Also, I did notice the call out to Zira saying, "Oh, and you're a black magical girl too." Like, yeah, I mean, obviously, most of these magical girl anime, they're Asian characters because they live in Japan and everything. I think there's a couple exceptions here and there where they might be otherwise, but yeah, you don't see like a black magical girl usually. And there's reason for that, but yeah, it's really cool to see nonetheless. It's great for representation and whatnot for this kind of genre. So yeah, just a fantastic thing to point out as well. It also seems like Aika's pretty smart because she aced that test on her first day while seemingly barely trying. She also finished really quickly. This means that she knew all of the material. She's just smart. She's an exceptionally smart um, kid who just wants to be a normal kid. She wants to be seen as like average and everything, doing average things. I wonder how long Hoshi has been like bothering her to be a magical girl. Like, how long has this been happening? Because it definitely came across like this is not just not the first time they met. I mean, that's clear, but it doesn't even feel like it's the second time they've met. Like the way they interact with each other makes it come across like this they've been bothering Aika for a while now. Not necessarily like a huge length of time, but for a good while. So I'm just kind of curious about like the backstory behind that, which I assume we'd get like in the full series. The designs are great. Like, it's obviously taking a lot of specific inspiration from Sailor Moon, which most magical girl content does for obvious reasons. But it's taking a lot of very direct inspiration. Like, it's like almost actively meant to be a very specific parody of Sailor Moon more than anything else. because you got like the Star Guardian thing. You got Sailor Moon even kind of mentioned with the manga that Zero reads, which is just Moon Sailor. It's like literally just in reverse the words. But like her outfit design is very Sailor Moon specifically. Even this guy coming in like is very reminiscent to the likes of like Kunzite and Zoisite and all of that, while our main villain is just basically Queen Beryl. It's like it's very blatantly a rip on very specifically Sailor Moon. Not just the genre, but the very specific series, which is fine because it's clearly meant to be an inverse of this kind of thing, and so specifically ripping on that makes sense. Future, like again, if this becomes a full series, it might also take some inspirations and rip on a few others, like again maybe Card Captor Sakura, or various other shows out there, maybe even like Madoka Magica. It might rip on that too, and I would be all good with that. Like maybe each episode or whatnot has kind of like different things it's kind of making fun of, or just poking at, not necessarily like in a mean spirited way, but just to have fun with it, and kind of like call out the tropes and whatnot. I think that would be a really cool aspect to it. The voice acting is a little to me. Like outside of our main couple of characters, and even with them sometimes, I feel like there could have been another go. Like it feels like it was like a first pass, and they could have given it another like another attempt before making it final. Some lines are fine. Some lines are okay and everything, but some lines are said a little off to me. Um, and it's just I feel like one more go, one more like attempt at each of the lines would have been a little better. But it is a pilot. It is an animatic. It's not that big of a deal. It would be worse if it were like an actual full episode, and it were like this. I feel like there probably wasn't a huge amount of like focus on making it exactly perfect in that regard. But they did good for what they did, and yeah, I just feel like it could have been a little more polished in that regard. Like I said, the animation was really good for being mostly an animatic. The animation we got within it and everything felt a lot more polished than expected. Um, just generally speaking, it felt very fun and entertaining. The pacing for this being an 11-minute episode, of course, an 11-minute pilot, was very quick and snappy. Allowed you to really like focus in right away without feeling like lost necessarily. Um, it gets your attention. This feels more like a classic pilot than a lot of the pilots we get nowadays. Because a lot of the pilots we get nowadays, and that even started like with back like with Has Been Hotel and Hell of a Boss and everything, they're too long. They feel like full episodes. Amazing Digital Circus was the same and everything, and with that becoming episode one afterwards, it's like I feel like a pilot should be more like this, a short proof of concept of a series that can be. Um, I feel like this is more of what like a lot of classic cartoon pilots back in the day were, and again, I feel like if it were more fully animated, it would be even better. Like have this be fully animated. The pacing is good. The character's good. Have the voice acting maybe worked on just one more time. Just give it one more pass, one more run, and I think you could really like this could really be as good as it could be. As it is though, it's still really damn good. I really appreciate the humor, the freakiness, and the subversion, the actual subversion of tropes. Like, this is actually what subverting tropes with magical girl anime looks like. And I do enjoy the characters so far. Um, Both of our main characters, Aika and Zira, are likable, are very entertaining. Um, and I definitely would like to know more about them. So, success in that regard. And I just think the production is well done. So, tell me in the comments below, what did you think of Pretty Pretty Please, I Don't Want to Be a Magical Girl, the pilot animatic? Let me know what you thought of it down in the comments below. And hopefully we end up getting more of this, because I would absolutely love to see more. And would absolutely be willing to react to it in the future. Oh, also, I just realized I forgot to mention this was a donation reward for Venom. Like, for most of the time that goes without saying, so I think I just forgot because of that this time. But yeah, this was a donation reward for Venom. Though we have been doing some other people's donation rewards lately, like both movies this past weekend were from other people. So, but yeah, hopefully we'll get to the full series in the future. I'll definitely try to keep up to date with everything. If I hear anything, we'll see when it comes and all. But yeah, definitely excited for more. Hopefully in the near future. But yeah. Tell me your thoughts. Thank you so much for tuning in. And for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.